Alright y'all, welcome back to the channel and to some more buckshot testing, and today we've got another really interesting combo to run. This is a gun that we have not brought out on the channel in quite some time. We've not really done a ton of testing with it either. I only have a handful of shots through it in the years that I've owned it anyway, but a number of people seem to really like these, and I mean, from what I've shot from it so far, it's a good performing shotgun, but I've had several people request to see us start testing it some more, especially with stuff like this, so I figured, hey, we'll bring it out here and see what it might be able to do. So for that gun that we've got today, I brought out this guy. This is a Stevens 311. I believe from dating it the best I can with the serial number and stuff on it, this should be about a 1974. And I mean, it makes sense. It looks from that era, and that's about where the serial number puts it. It's not the prettiest gun. It's that typical 70s brown wood that has pretty well no definition to it, especially for these more budget-oriented shotguns at the time frame anyway. But these are double barrel shotguns. This one is a 12 gauge. It's got 28-inch barrels on it with a mod full choke configuration. The left barrel being the full choke and the right barrel being the modified choke. The full choke barrel measures at a 697 and the mod choke barrel is a 704 for those that are curious on the exact numbers for this gun. So not overly tight and not overly far apart in constrictions, but these things, from what I gather, I have very little experience with the Stevens 311s, but people seem to like them as general field use or workhorse type shotguns. Anything from skeet shooting to bird hunting to just having them around as a double barrel you can use around the property or whatever seems to be the general consensus with these, and I would tend to agree. They're not overly ergonomic. They're kind of clunky, big square fore end on it. Not the prettiest looking gun in my opinion, but if it's a good performer, nothing at all wrong with it. Several people wanted to see this brought back out and tested with a few different types of loadings, so that's where we're going to start today. So for our shells we've got, I brought out some of the Winchester Super X buckshot loads. These ones being the 12 gauge 2 3/4 inch 9 pellet double aught at 1325. These are about as baseline as we can realistically get. These can be good performing shells. You put them through the right choke combo and stuff, they perform just fine. I've had several people want to see us run buckshot and turkey loads and stuff through that gun as well. We will be doing that, but we'll start here with the buckshot anyway and see how it performs. Double barrels, sometimes they're good with buck, other times they're not, so we'll see how it does here. Now, as for our test today, we have a double barrel. I think it's only right if we take a shot through each barrel, especially since we have two different choke constrictions. So I've got two targets set up down there at 40 yards with the chrono as well to get our velocity. So what we'll do, we'll fire a shot through the modified choke barrel, and then we'll move over and fire a shot through the full choke barrel, and we'll see the difference between the two as far as pattern performance. We might have one that's legitimately 40 yard capable. We might have both that do well at 40. We may have neither that do well at 40, but we'll see the difference and get an idea on what maybe our range capabilities are with at least this kind of combination. So let's get you guys to view those targets. Again, we'll start with the mod barrel, then go to the full barrel, and let's see how it actually performs with a basic run-of-the-mill Super X double-aught buck. All right, so let's have a quick look at our velocities before we look at our targets. We have a boss claim of 1325. That gun has 28-inch barrels, and we were seeing a little bit below that number out of that particular gun. The mod choke barrel shot gave us 1265, and the full choke barrel gave us 1251. So pretty consistent mid-1200s, perfectly fine for a double-aught buck shell, but let's go check out our patterns and see how both of our barrels actually performed. All right, so here we are down at our two 40-yard targets, and we see two pretty nice looking buckshot patterns down here for sure. Not a ton of difference between them, but there is a little bit more spread with the mod barrel. Obviously, both shots hit a little bit low. That's probably just me not having a ton of rounds through that shotgun. I can definitely bring that up a little bit, no big deal there. And it does look like the right barrel shoots a hair to the right and the left barrel shoots a hair to the left. No surprise there for a double barrel like that. But on the left, we have our modified barrel. That's a 704 constriction. On the right, we have our full choke barrel. That's a 697 constriction. Both pretty similar patterns. They're not terribly far off from one another, but the full choke is a little bit tighter of a spread, and it's probably a little bit more pretty of a spread as well. But I mean, initially, just looking at it here, both of these are perfectly capable patterns for whatever you'd want to use it for, and for what has traditionally seemingly been a decent just working man's double barrel, I'd say you're going to be just fine here based on these performances. We've seen way worse out of higher end shells through aftermarket fancy chokes and stuff in like 870s and Mossbergs and stuff like that. So this is really nice for what it is, all things considered. And these are about as basic of a shell as you can get without going to a super cheap import shell. But we'll start on the left first with our modified choke barrel. It's a 704 Constriction. We've got all 9 pellets on the target there, although it is a little bit more of a vertical string, so not quite as pretty looking of a pattern if you're going to be hunting with these. Typically, I prefer a little more even of a spread and not quite as just vertical of a line. But as far as size goes, I did measure it. We're looking at 8.5 inches wide by about 19 inches tall. So it's definitely taller than it is wider, but I always say anything sub 20 inches is a really solid buckshot pattern at 40 yards. And I mean, we're right there at it. We're a little bit under that, and our width is looking really good, just a little bit taller. So for a modified choke with a basic Super X buckshot load at 40 yards, not really a whole lot to complain about there. But now moving over to our full choke barrel pattern. The full choke is a 697, so a little bit tighter on the constriction. Still favored a little low, but we've got all 9 pellets there on the target, 2 of which down at the bottom there kind of almost cut one diagonal hole in the paper, but there's definitely 2 pellets pretty well touching each other. And that is a nice condensed area of buckshot right there. I did measure it as well. We have 11.75 inches wide by about 14 inches tall. So we're sub 15 inch right there on that buckshot pattern. That's 40 yards with a double barrel and a fixed full choke. That's a 697, which is not overly tight either. Like I said a second ago, sub 20 inches is a really solid buckshot pattern. When you start getting below the 15 inch mark, you're really getting down there into pretty impressive territory. So you can't argue with that performance right there. That would certainly work for anything you would want to use it for. So I gotta say, I'm rather impressed here. Both barrels did their job just fine. Now, if we're gonna be hunting with these, potentially the full choke barrel might give us a little more even of a spread to work with. It is a little more condensed as well. But for as bare bones of a double barrel as that is, I didn't really know how it was going to like buckshot coming into it, but you can't argue with the results there. That'll certainly do it, and this is just the starting point for loads as well. There's better shells out there. Maybe we should try those and see what they'll do as well. But since we're here, I do have a couple templates we can lay up over our targets, just to give you guys a little better reference point than a blank sheet of paper on how these really performed. First up, we have our deer template. This is the modified choke barrel. We have a front leg at the bottom and his neck just starts to the right. Obviously, both of our shots favored noticeably low, so I figured we'll give the templates the benefit of the doubt here and put them where our actual pattern was so we can really see how it performed if you had a centered up shot. We've got 8 of the 9 pellets right through the vital area on that deer. Maybe one of them might be a little bit high, kind of clipped the top of his back, but pretty much all the rest of them are right there where you want them to be. So even though it is a little bit more vertical of a string, even out to 40 yards, the modified choke barrel is still deer hunting capable. And now moving that deer template over to our full choke barrel, same story. You would have hit them with all 9 pellets this time. One of them might be a little low, kind of down there in the edge of the leg, but everything else is right through the vitals where you want it to be. That's a perfectly adequate deer hunting combination out to 40 yards, no question about it. So we could absolutely take this combo out this fall for deer season if we wanted to. Either barrel would serve the job just fine within typical buckshot deer hunting range. Next up, we have a coyote template. Not that you would immediately use this combo for predator hunting purposes, but if you were deer hunting or something with it and had a coyote come across in front of you, this is what the modified choke barrel pattern would look like at 40 yards. This is a pretty accurate to life-size coyote cutout, except minus a little bit of leg length at the bottom. You would have covered him with a handful of pellets, and it would certainly do the job through the modified choke barrel. And obviously, same thing continues over here with our full choke barrel as well. Would have hit him with most of your pellets for sure, right through the vital area. That's a dead coyote out to 40 yards all day long. If you had the opportunity to take one with that combination, would certainly work if you were in the deer stand, or if this was your general just gun cabinet type of shotgun that you left in the side room on the farmhouse and grabbed it for property maintenance or getting rid of a pest out of the backyard or anything like that. It would be good enough out to 40 yards yards for coyotes as well if you had one of these Super X double out loads loaded in it. And simply because we can and because I have the template, some people that may be watching this may not be hunters, so they may not have a good reference point as to the body sizes of animals. So even though double out at 40 yards through a double barrel is probably not your typical defensive situation, you probably shouldn't be taking that shot anyway most of the time. But this torso cutout template will give those guys at least some reference point to work off of. This is a regulation 18x30 torso cutout, and you can see our mod barrel has all 9 pellets right down through the center of it, so plenty good enough there if the situation ever arose, I suppose. And now pretty much same thing with our full choke barrel, all 9 pellets right through center mass there. So even if this isn't representative of a defensive scenario necessarily, at least now those guys that may not be hunters have a little better reference point with these torso templates. But either way, very impressive to have all 9 pellets inside of a torso template at 40 yards through a double barrel like that. You can't argue with the performance overall today, because that's pretty impressive in my book for what the shotgun is and what the shell is for that matter as well. And here are the 2 wads we have out of those shells. It hasn't been that long ago that Winchester started putting wads in their buckshot loads, and I think it absolutely helped out. You got your mod choke on the left, your full choke on the right, but they both look pretty well identical. Nothing out of the normal or special to see. They're an unplated pellet, but they do have these wads, and they are buffered. You can see those small little dimples down in there, along with the big ones where the pellets were sitting. So nothing special to see here. Both the wads clearly did just fine for us today. Alright y'all, well, what did you think about these 2 results right here? Obviously, we've got 2 great performing buckshot patterns down here. The mod barrel is a little more of a vertical string than what I would like to ideally see, but the size of it is still perfectly usable. And that full choke is rather impressive over there. I mean, we're sub 15 inches with about the most basic off-the-shelf Winchester double-aught buckload you can get. So I'm rather surprised overall. I didn't know quite what we were going to get coming into it here as to whether or not we were going to see good patterns from this gun or not, with buckshot anyway. Sometimes double barrels work for that, sometimes they don't. But this one, I'd say performed perfectly fine. I mean, those are 2 nice buckshot patterns that we typically need to really get a better aftermarket choke and stuff like that to get those kind of performances. So for the working man's gun that 311 is, you can't argue with those results. It wouldn't have necessarily surprised me if we saw nice patterns from that gun, but I didn't really expect to see this good of a result, if you will. And considering this is a starting point and we can probably put better buckshot loads through that than what these are, I mean, we might legitimately have a nasty performing buckshot gun on our hands here. And that's a little surprising. I didn't expect an old 311 to be that kind of performer with buckshot anyway, but we'll see as we continue testing it, depending on what you guys might want to see us run through it. But leave all your thoughts down below. Is that about what you expected to see? Were you a little surprised one way or the other? Do you have an old 311 and have you run buckshot loads through it? And if so, what kind of results have you seen? Is this a combo you would actually run for hunting purposes if you're getting those kinds of patterns? And maybe what other shells do you want to see us run through that? What other tests, whether it be turkey, waterfowl, buckshot, whatever? That gun's probably not going to be the best slug performer, but whatever you guys might want to see, we can definitely try it and see what it gives us, because we got 2 surprising results here, so I don't see why we can't continue that trend with some other loads as well. So let me know all your thoughts down below. But with that being said, I've got some more testing to get done for you guys, so I'm going to get back to it. As always, we have the channel Instagram as well as the mailbox where you can send stuff if you'd like. All that information will be in the description if you're interested in it, but I'm going to get back to it, so I'll see y'all in the next one.